hopefully not too askew. Yeah.
Well, alright. Welcome back to Fizz Friday, where everything is subject to change, including myself. And probably that slogan too. I don't know if I'll do a slogan, honestly. I don't know if it fits this kind of dynamic. Dislike the video if you didn't like that, just so I know. But here's episode 2. Thank you for watching. I'm in a much very different place from last time. I'm in Stockholm, Sweden right now. My mom lives in Sweden. She lives about, within an hour of Gothenburg. So we all took a trip, and it's a very cool city, I gotta say. But due to that, there might be a lot of loud environmental sound, people singing, general cheer and jovialness. So that's just something we'll have to deal with. But yeah, many exciting new things happening. I got a tattoo, my first tattoo. It looks horrible when I try to show other people just because of anatomy, but it's a quarter rest note. You might see it in such things as music. I'm getting antsy, so let's get into the drink for today. Today we are trying Trocadero. I assume is how they pronounce it in Swedish, Have no idea. No, absolutely zero idea what this is. I just know it's Swedish. I'm liking the rainbow kind of carousel vibe. It's giving like a 1920s circus kind of atmosphere to it. This is colored very much like a ginger ale. I have no idea what to expect. Maybe I'll make a prediction of what I think it tastes like. And then this is a souvenir fake drinking horn. Vikings used to drink out of bull's horns. They would drink mead out of them in ceremonial times and things like that. So I'm gonna be doing that because that's what I got to do for this series. I got to find an interesting way to do this. So my prediction for this, I'm thinking that it's gonna taste a bit like, there's this Swedish candy called bilar, which is like little marshmallows that have a slight fruity taste to them, and I don't really like them that much. And I feel like this might be the same. I don't think I'm huge on Swedish candy in general, and this is looking like it'll taste that way. It'll have a weird marshmallowy but slight fruity taste. That's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong. What I like about Sweden is they make it so the bottle cap can't come off. They have a little like plastic appendage. Appendage isn't really the right word, is it? Like bonding, I guess. And this is not actually meant to be dranken out of. I looked in the bottom of it. There seemed to be kind of like solidified glue with like hairs in it. I soaked it. I cleaned it to the best of my ability to the point where I think it's safe, but I think this is purely not for drinking. It's for decoration, and I think it's unrealistic as well. I think in real life they would drink out of full, huge bull's horns. This would have been a teenage bull, maybe. Pretty juvenile. It does say Stockholm on there. Ooh. Oh, that's fizzing. Wow. That's ginger ale levels of carbonation there. God damn. Okay. I still think it could be like a kind of marshmallow candy flavor. They're singing Swedish folk tunes. Ever seen the movie Midsummer? And in Sweden they say skål, which means cheers. I'll say that. And then down it, I think they said you're supposed to have the point pointing down because the gravity helps it go down faster that way. And yeah, there were many times that in Viking times they would drink out of bull's horns. One of those times was in memory of the fallen. They would call it a mini, I guess, M-I-N-N-I. They would, cheers and then empty their goblets, so to speak. So I'm about to empty my goblet, and here we go. Skål. Wow. Okay. Not what I expected. It's like a light, citrusy, like orange lemon kind of flavor. As I was saying, light orange lemon kind of flavor. Very pleasant. not extremely sweet. It's similar to like Fanta, I guess. Like if you've tried Fanta from outside the US, they put way less sugar and stuff in it.
Unlike in America, where everything is so much sugar.
It tastes 75% closer to actual like orange juice, I guess. I was gonna say it's like carbonated Sunny D, but even Sunny D is like way too sweet compared to like the Fanta you would find here, so I don't know. But no, this Trocadero, my gosh, it pleased me. It pleased me. I would say, man, I gotta double dip here. I just can't even like describe it. I'm excited about this. This is really good. I would say it's a slightly superior iteration of Fanta, I guess. Like in the US, the way things become so homogenized, like this kind of thing would never exist because it's too similar to like an orange soda. It's like too niche, so it would never be a thing. In terms of flavor, I'll give it like a 9. Smoothness is a 10. I mean, I can't ask for a better smoothness. It glides down the throat effortlessly, you know what I mean? Presentation, I love this bottle. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I would say the actual color of the drink is like mediocre, but the label's great. I would give it like a 7. Maybe I should add like a unique factor on how special of a drink it is. And in terms of that, I mean, this drink really only exists in this country, which I think is always interesting. There's a lot of orange flavored sodas around. Fanta, there's one here called like Zingo or something. I don't think they differ like that much, but I would say probably this is the best one. So specialty wise, like I'll give it a 7. Like it's a story for sure. You can tell your friends that you drank Trocadero, and I have, and that's why I'm telling you, because you're my friends. Skull to that. The topic for today is one that I'm much less prepared for, I feel like, than last week. I'm in the travel mode and I'm very inspired by everything around me. Traveling, you're imbued with all these new things and exciting things, and you feel like this is something I've never seen before. Maybe this could be the future, you know what I mean? And it can come from any culture. I feel like you can see the future everywhere. But the flip side of that is like you see this incredible tradition. In the US, we're much less accustomed to like such strong, powerful tradition. Especially me, like I come from like a predominantly white, rural, mostly lower class area in Maine. Can't really name you much in terms of tradition. Like all the holidays are kind of celebrated in the boring way you would see on TV. Christmas and Thanksgiving and like Halloween. There are quirks to it because it's a small New England town, kind of, but it's not like there are no special things we do even, that I could tell you. The closest thing we have in New England, we have clam chowder, lobster rolls and stuff. Like we invented those and we're proud to sell them to tourists. Where there's a bit of an accent, my grandparents had strong Maine accents. It's just like a slow version of a Boston accent. I'm not even going to attempt to do one right now, just because like I said, I'm kind of anxious. I'm in a new place. If I was a little more comfortable, maybe I would just attempt to do it for you right now. The difference here is, we went to a castle where the king and queen of Sweden still live, and it was amazing, so ornate. Everything was so luxurious that it's almost scary, and it's like every single room in every single building has its own quirky areas and concaves and weird hiding spots, and it's like to see something built to such a grand scale purely in the name of tradition is something that like truly I think cannot happen anymore. These grand scale displays of luxury were done in the name of something that shouldn't be done anymore. This medal that was given to a king that received it because he successfully conquered Finland or something like that. The other side of it, which I find most interesting, is like the more connected we get as a world on a global scale, the less we tend to follow tradition. And I think my theory is that we're on this grand sort of linear projection, this trajectory. We're heading towards unity. Like it'll take hundreds of years, and I hope it can happen. I hope that we make it that long, but it'll take hundreds of years to get to this point where there is global unity and we start speaking the same language one day. In hundreds of years, I believe that is what has to happen because of how connected we are. We have to like take down our borders, and we have to take down these things that are separating us. That's like, because of how much access we have to each other at this point with the internet, we have to be able to understand each other 100%. So I think we're on this grand parabola, flying like ragdolls through the atmosphere in hopes that someday we'll land in a utopian spot where we'll all be unified and on the same page, and we will have one system that just kind of manages everything, and it'll be heavily democratic, and it'll be just ultra representational of everyone. But we're in that weird transitional period. We've left the traditional era, mostly. We still have those people that are clinging to it desperately, and some of the tradition is beautiful and should be remembered, absolutely. But that's why it's a very volatile, violent time, I think, is because we've now left the traditional era ever since the advent of cell phones and the internet. And now we're hurtling through space, and we don't really know what to do. So we're kind of back in this angry time, and we're fighting with each other, we're yelling at each other. If we can make it through the fight without killing each other, we will have something beautiful. Gotta cheers to that. Skål. I am worried about like how it frames out my head so much, but it's difficult. It really is. It's pretty good. Yeah. I wish I could film here every time. It's been great so far. It's been nothing but kind to me. I've barely touched on actual tradition though, because I've just talked about like castles and stuff, and that's just like the grand idyllic image that countries used to project, but it's not really representative of what actual people did, like citizens, like normal people. But like religion, for example, and religion is an institution too, just like royalty. But I guess that's what, heavily communist countries like China are getting at by, wanting to eliminate religion. I think they take it a bit too far. But like, I suppose I haven't read the Communist Manifesto. Maybe that's a doctrine of it, is like religion is something that creates division, or it creates different classes, and I think that's true. My point where I'm going with this is like, sorry, they like soccer a lot. The point of what I'm getting at with the whole religion thing is like Sweden, for example, when it had the Norse Viking influence, it was heavily pagan, and then when it was conquered and everything and Christianity took over, Christianity really took over, and it was a serious thing. Every country had its own sort of national brand of religion. But like Sweden, for example, barely anyone goes to church anymore. It's just not a thing. Like Christmas is like it often is in America. It's just like giving presents and Santa and whatever. And Santa wasn't even a thing here until like 30 years ago, you know what I mean? So a lot of the world is sort of deciding that religion is not as important. And I think, like I said earlier, like it's in ways it's a sad thing, and we're abandoning tradition, but it's because we're haphazardly hurtling towards unity. And I think because of that, like, appropriation is like a huge thing in today's society. If you sort of impersonate or wear a facade of another culture, you are inherently mocking it because you don't understand it. That's kind of what I'm doing now with this whole thing. But it depends. It depends on who you are as a person, what your background is, and what culture you're sort of appropriating. But I think that whole thing really came out of this transitional period towards unity. I think like in an ideal future, we could say anything to each other and it wouldn't matter, I guess. But I mean, people are always evil, and evil people are always going to be bad, I guess. And that's the problem, I think, with the idea of a utopia, is like, no matter how perfect things are, there's always going to be people that are imperfect. I guess it's like a common sense thing, but it's an interesting point, But still, it seems, at least in America, from my small frog brain, the people that try to hold on to tradition the most are the ones holding progress back. I would like to see a way to maintain traditions in a way that isn't regressive. I guess that's the quandary I'm in right now. I guess it's a weird sort of paradox where everyone should just be left alone to do what they want to do, which I absolutely believe, but they also should simultaneously try to see eye to eye with everyone else, which is what coexistence is. I think people have to not only coexist, but like be open to their children and their children's children to becoming the same people. Does that make sense? Like, in ways, it'll be very sad to see a future in these amazing places like Japan and what have you, you know, stripped of like its tradition and culture. But I just think inevitably that'll have to happen to some extent, in that there will have to be this sort of middle ground between every culture, and we'll have to be just a totally unified planet. I guess, is that the only way for us to be a full unified thing? You know, should we be? I thought I was gonna solve everything right here, but I'm just kind of like talking myself in circles, but I hope I'm making sense. I was reading up on drinking from the old bull's horn, and something they would do, something that sort of conquerors and Viking kings would do, is they would cheers the four corners of the world, and before drinking they would vow to conquer every corner. And I guess clearly I should do that too, because I'm obviously trying to solve it all right here. So I'm gonna fix all the world's problems. I guess I'll cheers to all four directions. Skål. 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 Closing thoughts are, I guess everything would be fine if people just weren't evil. But I think some peoples and cultures are fully justified in not wanting certain people to like be a part of their culture or exploit it. Like people who have been wronged by descendants of certain empires, the British Empire, for example. And I wouldn't say it's evil. I think it's fair to not want to interact with the descendants of a empire that so recently upended your culture's life. So I guess like that's part of the transitional period too, is allowing people to mellow. But I feel like there are some things that can't be forgotten, and so I guess that's the real roadblock that I can't solve right now, but I'm gonna be thinking about it. All I know is we only have one life, and the best thing we can do is just try to connect with as many people as possible from as many different backgrounds. And if we're not doing that, we might as well not be alive. Yeah. That's what I think. Yeah, I think I should just stop talking here. I think that's the lesson I've learned, yeah. And maybe this episode is more streamlined than the last. Maybe it was more entertaining, you know? That'd be exciting. And yeah. Oh, I gotta do one last cheers. Skål. I realize I forgot to recommend a song in a movie, as I said I would do every episode. I'm on a train currently going to Copenhagen. For a song, I'm just going to go ahead and recommend Money by Bill Wirtz. It's specifically about money, but in a broader sense, it's like about how no one really knows how to do anything, and that like the world is built upon concepts that are hard to grasp and are kind of arbitrary and hard to understand. And it feels topical to me. I've been feeling like that a lot lately. For a movie, I don't know. I'll just go ahead and recommend V for Vendetta. It's great, you know, and script is by the Wachowskis, and it's a movie about how like the grand hurdle between us and unity is the powers that be, and figuring out how to get past that, I guess. Sorry for forgetting that. Bye.
When you travel through Germany, you cannot escape the past. You know, they teach their kids about it. They teach children in school. They're like, hey, this is what Germany did. They make sure they know. They'll say to the kids, they're like, hey, kids, I hope you understand. Germany did this. You're not responsible because you weren't there. However, because you're the future of Germany, it's your responsibility to make sure this doesn't happen again.